Alright, welcome back to our Cryengine tutorial video set. In this video, I'm going to talk a bit about the flow graph, just the basics. So to find the flow graph, I'm going to go up to View and Open View Pane, and it's one of our options in here. So the flow graph, what it does is allows you to basically trigger events to happen. So you set up kind of a map of what kind of events you want to happen in your scene, and the flow graph will trigger them for you. And so I'll give a little bit of a demonstration here. But first, the main components you want to know about in the flow graph are over here on the left. You have all of your different types of nodes that you can put in, like AI nodes and actor nodes. And I'll show you what a node is in a minute. Then under here, you have a file tree structure of all of your flow graphs that you have created. And then over here on the right, under this inputs box, that is where you're going to see your different node options when you have one selected. So the first thing I want to do is go up to File, and I'm going to create a new flow graph. And you'll see it gives you this little grid on your gray background. And so over here, I can select my nodes by opening up this file tree and closing it and selecting them, or I can right-click on my background and go to Add Node. And under Add Node, I have all of my different options, and that, to me, is a little bit easier. So probably the most important node that you want to be familiar with is going to be under Game. And under Game, you have Start. So this game start is a trigger that when the map begins, this flow graph will start. So this is one you want to be familiar with. So whenever you start a scene, this game start will be the one that will trigger whatever actions you want it to happen. And then you'll notice that it has these three options underneath it. In-game and in-editor don't really matter. But this output one is what's important. So when the game starts, what do you want to happen? That's what this output arrow is telling us. And so when we get more nodes, you can see that I'll be able to drag a little arrow over here and point to the action of what I want to happen. And in this way, you create a map of your things that you want to happen. So right now, my little arrow isn't going anywhere because I don't have any other nodes. I'm going to go ahead and create another node here. I'm going to do AI follow path. So this node here will allow me to take an artificial intelligence character, and when the game starts, I can tell him to follow a path. So from game start, I'm going to want to sync output to sync here with my little arrow. Easy enough. There's a bunch of other things that you'll have to plug into AI follow path to make that work. Like you'll have to plug in the main node entity, which will be the AI character, and you'll have to plug in the path that you want them to follow and things like that. But just as a demonstration, you can see how that would work, how one node can flow to the other. And when the AI was done following the path, when he was done, we could drag an arrow from done to another action and have him do another action. Or you can drag an arrow whether he succeeded or failed to do the action, so maybe he couldn't follow that path, and when he can't follow the path, a certain action happens. And you can see when I have this node selected that over here on this right-hand side, I get a few different options. You know, whether I want my AI to walk or whether I want him to run, what kind of stance I want him to have as he does these things. So, you know, you can tweak it. And there's hundreds and hundreds of different nodes that you can mess with, and I can't possibly go into all of them. But it's kind of fun to play around and see what you can come up with. Another important thing in the editor is that you also have your undo and redo buttons up here, which makes it easy if you make a mistake. Or if you accidentally put something in that breaks your graph and it doesn't work anymore, you can undo, see where you went wrong. Another helpful tool is that you have this live debugging thing. So you can select this live debugging, and when the game starts, you'll actually be able to see as the graph is happening, you can see what goes wrong if something does go wrong. And that's kind of the basics of flow graphs. I will obviously go into them in a little bit more detail in other videos and give some examples of how I would use them. But that's about all I want to talk about. So with that, I'll close.